The garden was awash in golden light, the kind that made everything feel like a dream. Roses bloomed in vibrant clusters, their petals catching the late afternoon sun, and the air carried the sweet scent of jasmine. I stood in the center of it all, my heart pounding as I gazed at the Venue sprawling estate with ivy-clad walls and a grand ballroom that seemed to whisper promises of forever. This was the place where I would say I do to Ethan, the man who had been my anchor through every storm. My engagement ring sparkled on my finger, a delicate promise of the life we would build together. I had spent months planning this moment. The venue, Willowbrook Manor, was perfect not just for its beauty but for what it represented. It was where my parents had married 30 years ago, where they danced under chandeliers and laughed until dawn. Booking it had been a battle. It was in high demand, and I'd spent countless nights refreshing the website, calling the manager, and pleading my case. When I finally secured it, I cried, not just from relief but from the weight of the legacy I was carrying forward. My brother, Daniel, had been there through it all. Older by 4 years. He'd always been my protector, the one who'd scare off bullies and sneak me extra dessert when Mom wasn't looking. But lately, he'd been distant. His texts were short, his calls rare. I chalked it up to his busy life, his marriage to Sarah, his demanding job as a financial analyst, the 2 kids who kept them running in circles. Still, I missed him. I wanted him to be part of this moment, to share in the joy of my engagement. That evening, I invited Daniel and Sarah over to our small apartment. Ethan was out picking up dinner, and I was setting the table when they arrived. Sarah looked tired, her eyes shadowed, her smile forced. Daniel was worse. His jaw was tight, his shoulders hunched, like he was carrying a weight I couldn't see. I tried to lighten the mood, pouring wine and talking about the venue. You should see Willowbrook, Dan, I said, my voice bubbling with excitement. It's like stepping into a fairy tale. The gardens, the ballroom, it's everything I dreamed of. Daniel nodded, but his eyes didn't meet mine. Sounds nice, Claire, he said, his voice flat. Sarah sipped her wine in silence, staring at the table. I frowned. Everything okay? You guys seem off. Sarah glanced at Daniel, her lips parting as if to speak. But he cut her off. We're fine. Just tired. Kids. You know. He forced a laugh, but it didn't reach his eyes. I let it go, not wanting to push. We ate. Talked about small things, the weather, my job as a graphic designer, their daughter's latest soccer game. But the air felt heavy, like a storm was brewing just out of sight. When Ethan came back with takeout, the mood lifted slightly. He was good at that, diffusing tension with his easy smile and quick wit. By the time they left, I convinced myself I'd imagined the strain. The next morning, I got a call from Willowbrook's manager, Mrs. Hargrove. Her voice was clipped, professional, but there was an edge to it. Ms. Harper, I'm sorry to inform you, but there's been an issue with your booking. My stomach dropped. What kind of issue? It appears the venue was double booked for your date. Another party has claimed it. And, well, they've already paid the deposit. That's impossible, I said, my voice rising. I booked it months ago. I paid the deposit. You sent me the confirmation. I understand, and we're looking into it, she said, her tone apologetic. But the other party insists they have a valid claim. Can you come in tomorrow to discuss this? I agreed, my mind racing. Double booked. It didn't make sense. Ethan was at work, so I called Daniel, needing someone to talk me down. He picked up on the third ring, his voice groggy. Claire. What's up? The venue. I said, my words tumbling out. They're saying it's double booked. I don't know what's happening. Dan. I'm freaking out. There was a long pause. Too long. That's weird, he said finally. I'm sure it's just a mix-up. You'll figure it out. His tone was off again. Distant. Like he was reading from a script. I hung up, unease settling in my chest. Something was wrong, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel knew more than he was letting on. The next day, I drove to Willowbrook, my hands gripping the steering wheel. Mrs. Hargrove met me in her office, a small room filled with files and photos of happy couples. She looked uncomfortable, her fingers tapping nervously on her desk. Ms. Harper, I've reviewed the records, she said. The other booking was made just yesterday, but the client provided a deposit and a signed contract. They were insistent. Who is it? I asked, my voice sharp. Who booked it? She hesitated, then slid a piece of paper across the desk. My heart stopped as I read the name, Daniel Harper. My brother. My own brother had tried to steal my engagement venue. I stared at the paper, my vision blurring. There has to be a mistake, I whispered. Why would he do this? Mrs. Hargrove looked away, her expression pained. He mentioned personal reasons. Something about needing the venue urgently. I'm so sorry, Claire. I left the office in a daze, my mind spinning. Daniel, the brother who'd always had my back, had betrayed me. But why? What could possibly drive him to do this? As I drove home, one thought kept circling. I had to confront him. I had to know the truth. The drive to Daniel's house felt endless, each mile heavy with questions I didn't want to ask. The betrayal stung, sharp and raw, but beneath it was something else worry. Daniel wasn't the type to act impulsively. He was methodical, always thinking 3 steps ahead. For him to do something this drastic, something was deeply wrong. I pulled into their driveway, the familiar sight of their modest 2-story home doing little to ease my nerves. Their kids' bikes were scattered on the lawn, a soccer ball half deflated near the porch. I knocked, my heart hammering, and Sarah opened the door. Her face paled when she saw me. Claire, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. What's wrong? I need to talk to Daniel, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Is he here? She nodded, stepping aside. He's in the living room. Daniel was on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He looked up, and for a split second, I saw guilt flash across his face before he masked it with a smile. Hey, Claire. What's up? I didn't sit. I couldn't. Why did you book Willowbrook Manor for my wedding date? The air in the room shifted, like the moment before a lightning strike. Sarah froze in the doorway, her eyes darting between us. Daniel's smile faltered, but he didn't deny it. How did you? Mrs. Hargrove told me. I cut in, my voice shaking. You tried to steal my venue. Dan. My venue. The one I've been dreaming of since I was a kid. Why? He stood, running a hand through his hair. It's not what you think. Claire. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Then what were you doing? I demanded. Because it sure feels like you stabbed me in the back. Sarah stepped forward, her hands twisting together. Claire. Please. It's complicated. Then explain it, I said, turning to her. Because right now, I don't understand how my own brother could do this. Daniel sighed, his shoulders slumping. It was for Sarah and me, he said quietly. Our marriage, it's falling apart. I thought if we could renew our vows, make a big gesture, It might fix things. I stared at him, the words sinking in. You thought stealing my venue would fix your marriage. Not stealing, he said quickly. I was going to tell you. I just needed to secure it first. I was going to ask you to switch dates. Maybe find another place. Another place. My voice rose. Incredulous. Do you know how hard I worked to get Willowbrook? It's not just a venue. Dan. It's Mom and Dad's place. It's my dream. I know, he said, his voice breaking. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm desperate. Claire. I can't lose her. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, and she turned away, covering her mouth. The room felt too small, the air too thick. I wanted to scream, to shake him, but the pain in his voice stopped me. This wasn't just about the venue. Something was broken between them, something deeper than I'd realized. Tell me what's going on, I said, softer now. All of it. Daniel sank back onto the couch, his hands covering his face. It started a year ago, he said. Work got crazy, and I was never home. Sarah was stuck with the kids, the house, everything. We stopped talking. Really talking. Then, she found out I'd been hiding things. Money stuff. I made some bad investments. Lost a lot. I didn't tell her because I didn't want her to worry. Sarah's voice was sharp, cutting through his words. You lied to me, Daniel. For months. I thought we were partners. I was trying to protect you, he said, his voice raw. I thought I could fix it before you found out. I listened, my anger fading into something heavier grief. Grief for the brother I thought I knew. For the marriage I'd assumed was solid. So you thought a vow renewal would make it all go away? I asked. I thought it would remind us why we got married in the first place. He said. Willowbrook. It's special. I thought if we could go back to that feeling, maybe we could start over. Sarah shook her head, her voice barely audible. It's not that simple. Daniel. I looked between them, the weight of their pain pressing against my own. I was still angry, still hurt, but I couldn't ignore the desperation in Daniel's eyes. He was fighting for something he was afraid to lose, even if his way of fighting was wrong. I need time, I said finally. I can't just let this go. Dan, you crossed a line. I know, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry. Claire. I left without another word, my mind a tangle of emotions. As I drove home, I thought about Ethan, about the life we were building. I thought about Mom and Dad, how their love had seemed unbreakable. And I thought about Daniel and Sarah, two people I loved, tearing each other apart. I didn't know how to fix it, but I knew I couldn't let my own dreams be collateral damage. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't bring myself to tell Ethan about Daniel's betrayal not yet. Every time I tried, the words caught in my throat, tangled with anger and sadness. Instead, I threw myself into work, sketching designs for clients, losing myself in the clean lines and vibrant colors of my art. But even that couldn't drown out the noise in my head. I kept replaying Daniel's words, the way his voice cracked when he said he couldn't lose Sarah. I'd always seen him as the strong one, the one who had it all together. But now, he was unraveling, and I didn't know how to help him without sacrificing my own happiness. On Thursday, I met Ethan for coffee at our favorite cafe, a cozy spot with mismatched chairs and the best lattes in town. He knew something was wrong the moment he saw me. Claire, you look like you haven't slept in days, he said, his brow furrowing. What's going on? I hesitated, then told him everything Daniel's booking, the confrontation, the mess of his marriage. Ethan listened, his hand warm around mine, his eyes steady. When I finished, he leaned back, exhaling slowly. "That's a lot," he said. "I get why you're upset. But why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't want to burden you," I admitted. "This is supposed to be our time. You know, our happiness. I didn't want Daniel's mess to ruin it." Ethan squeezed my hand. "It's our mess now, Claire. We're in this together. And honestly, I think you need to talk to Daniel again. Figure out what's really going on." He was right, but the thought of facing Daniel again made my stomach twist. Still, I couldn't avoid it forever. That evening, I called him and asked to meet at Mom and Dad's old house, where I'd been staying while they were on vacation. It felt neutral, a place tied to our shared history, not the chaos of the present. Daniel arrived just after sunset, his face drawn. The living room was filled with memories, photos of us as kids. Mom's favorite quilt draped over the couch. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unspoken pressing down on us. "I need to understand," I said finally. "Why Willowbrook? Why my date?" Daniel stared at the floor, his hands clasped tightly. "It wasn't just about the venue," he said. "It was about time. Sarah's been talking about leaving. Claire. She's been meeting with a lawyer. I thought if I could pull off something big, something meaningful, before she made up her mind." He trailed off, and I saw the fear in his eyes, the kind that comes from knowing you might lose everything. "But why my date?" I pressed. "You could have picked any other day." "Because I panicked," he admitted. "When I called Willowbrook, they said your date was the only one available for months. I didn't think it through. I just acted." I leaned back, my anger flaring again. "You didn't think about me at all, did you?" "I did," he said, his voice urgent. "I swear. Claire, I was going to talk to you. I just needed to secure it first. I know it was stupid. I know I screwed up." I wanted to believe him, but the hurt was still fresh. "Do you know what Willowbrook means to me?" I asked. "It's not just a place. It's Mom and Dad's love story. It's the promise I made to myself when I was a kid, that I'd find a love like theirs. And you tried to take that from me." Daniel's eyes glistened, and he looked away. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said. "I was just trying to save my family." The room fell silent again, the weight of his words settling between us. I thought about Sarah, about their kids, about the life they'd built together. I thought about Ethan, about the future we were fighting for. And I realized something. As much as I wanted to hold on to my anger, I couldn't ignore the love I still had for my brother. "I'm not giving up Willowbrook," I said firmly. "But I want to help you, Dan. I just don't know how." He nodded, his expression a mix of gratitude and shame. "I don't deserve that," he said. "But I'm glad you're still here." We talked for hours, peeling back the layers of his marriage, his mistakes, his fears. It wasn't a fix. Not yet. But it was a start. As he left, I felt a flicker of hope, not just for him, but for us. Maybe we could find a way through this. Together. The days that followed were a delicate balancing act. I was still reeling from Daniel's actions, but I couldn't shake the image of his broken expression, the way his voice trembled when he spoke about losing Sarah. I wanted to stay angry. It was easier, cleaner, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that anger wouldn't fix anything. Not for me. Not for Daniel. Not for any of us. I met with Mrs. Hargrove again, determined to secure my booking. She was apologetic, promising to honor my original contract. But the paperwork was a mess. Daniel's deposit had complicated things. And the venue's system wasn't equipped to handle disputes like this. "We'll sort it out," she assured me, but her tone lacked confidence. I left with a sinking feeling, knowing I couldn't rely on promises alone. Back home, Ethan and I sat down to strategize. He was calm, practical, the way he always was when I spiraled. "What if we find another venue?" he suggested. "I know Willowbrook means a lot, but maybe there's something just as special out there." I shook my head. "It's not just about the place, Ethan. It's about what it represents. My parents' marriage. They're lovey. It's like a piece of them is with us if we get married there." He nodded, understanding. "Then we fight for it. But we also need to figure out how to help Daniel without giving up what's yours." I spent the next few days researching, calling other venues, looking for alternatives I could suggest to Daniel. Most were booked solid, but I found a charming vineyard an hour away with an opening a week after my date. It wasn't Willowbrook, but it was beautiful, with rolling hills and a rustic barn that could hold a vow renewal. I sent the details to Daniel, hoping it might be a compromise. His response was lukewarm. "It's nice," he texted, "but Sarah's got her heart set on something grander." I gritted my teeth, frustrated by his dismissal. He was still clinging to the idea that a big gesture would fix everything, as if a venue could erase years of mistrust. I decided to talk to Sarah directly. She agreed to meet me at a park near their house, where we sat on a bench overlooking a pond. The kids were at school, and for the first time in a long time, it was just the two of us. She looked worn, her eyes red-rimmed, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. "Daniel told me what he did," she said before I could speak. "I didn't know, Claire. I swear, I never would have agreed to it." "I believe you," I said, "but I need to understand what's happening with you two." "He's desperate, Sarah. He thinks a vow renewal will fix everything." She laughed, a bitter sound. "He thinks a party will make up for lying to me, for hiding that we're drowning in debt. I don't even know if I can trust him anymore." Her words hit hard, echoing my own feelings of betrayal. "Do you still love him?" I asked. She hesitated, her eyes on the water. "I do. But love isn't enough sometimes. I need to know he's going to be honest with me, that he's going to fight for us in a real way, not just with some grand gesture." I nodded, understanding more than I wanted to. What if we could find a way to make the vow renewal happen? Not at Willowbrook, but somewhere else. Would you be open to it? She sighed. "I don't know, Claire. I don't know if I'm ready to say those vows again. Not yet." Her honesty was a gut punch, but it gave me clarity. Daniel was fighting for something Sarah wasn't even sure she wanted. I couldn't fix their marriage, but I could try to help them find a path forward. I told her about the vineyard, about other venues I'd found. She listened, her expression softening, but she didn't commit. That night, I lay awake, Ethan's arm around me. "What if we share Willowbrook?" I said suddenly, the idea forming as I spoke. "What if we have my wedding in the morning and their vow renewal in the evening? Same day, same place." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You'd be okay with that?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I can't let Daniel's mess ruin our day. And maybe it could be a way to bring us all together." It was a risky idea, one that could backfire spectacularly. But it felt like a step toward healing not just for Daniel and Sarah, but for me and my brother. I didn't know if it would work, but I was willing to try. Convincing Daniel and Sarah to share Willowbrook was harder than I expected. Daniel was hesitant, worried it would look like he was piggybacking on my day. Sarah was skeptical, unsure if she was ready for a vow renewal at all. But I was determined. I didn't want to lose my venue, but I also didn't want to lose my brother. If we could make this work, it might be a chance to rebuild what had been broken. I arranged a meeting at Willowbrook with Mrs. Hargrove, Daniel, Sarah, and Ethan. The garden was as beautiful as ever, the roses blooming brighter in the morning light. Mrs. Hargrove was wary but open to the idea of a double event, provided we could work out the logistics. "It's tight," she said, flipping through her planner. "But if we schedule the wedding for the morning and the vow renewal for the evening, we can make it work." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "I don't want to intrude on Claire's day," he said. This was her dream first. I looked at him, my heart softening. "It's our dream now," I said. "I want you and Sarah to have this moment, too. Maybe it'll remind us all what family means." Sarah's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of hope. "Are you sure?" she asked. "This is your wedding, Claire. I don't want to take that from you." "You're not taking anything," I said. "We're sharing it. That's what families do." It wasn't perfect. There were compromises, shorter receptions, shared vendors, a tight schedule. But as we talked through the details, I felt a weight lift. This wasn't just about saving my venue. It was about saving my family. Over the next few weeks, we dove into planning. Ethan and I worked on our wedding, choosing flowers and music that felt like us. Daniel and Sarah were slower, their conversations halting, but they started to open up. They went to counseling, something Sarah had insisted on, and Daniel agreed, albeit reluctantly. I saw glimpses of the brother I'd grown up with, the one who'd tease me mercilessly but always have my back. One evening, I found Sarah in the garden at Willowbrook, sketching in a notebook. She'd always been artistic, though she rarely had time for it anymore. "I'm designing our invitations," she said, showing me a delicate sketch of roses and ivy. "I want it to feel new, like we're starting over." I smiled, touched by the care she was putting into it. "It's beautiful," I said. "You and Danielle Yuri going to be okay?" She looked at me, her eyes searching. "I hope so," she said. "I want to believe we can be. For the kids. For us." As the wedding day approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Sharing Willowbrook was a gamble, but it felt right. I wanted my wedding to be a celebration not just of Ethan and me, but of the family we were part of. I wanted Daniel and Sarah to remember what they were fighting for, to see that love could endure even the hardest moments. The night before the wedding, Daniel came to see me. We sat on the porch of Mom and Dad's house, the air cool and quiet. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. "After what I did, you didn't have to do this." "You're my brother," I said simply. "I'm mad at you, but I love you. I want you to be happy." He nodded, his eyes glistening. "I'm trying, Claire. I really am." "I know," I said. And for the first time in weeks, I believed him. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear, the sky a perfect blue. Willowbrook Manor glowed in the sunlight, its gardens alive with color, its ballroom gleaming with polished floors and chandeliers. I stood in the bridal suite, my dress a cascade of lace and silk, my heart full to bursting. Ethan was waiting for me, and in a few hours, we'd be married. But there was something else, too, a sense of unity, a family, that made this day bigger than just us. The ceremony was everything I dreamed of. Ethan's vows were heartfelt, his voice steady as he promised to love me through every challenge. I cried through mine, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment, by the love that filled the room. Mom and Dad were there, their faces glowing with pride, their hands clasped tightly. Daniel stood at the back, his arm around Sarah, And for the first time in months, they looked like a team. After the reception, as the sun dipped low, the venue transformed for Daniel and Sarah's vow renewal. The ballroom was reset with new flowers, softer lighting, and Sarah's sketches framed on easels around the room. She wore a simple white dress, her hair loose, her face radiant. Daniel looked nervous but determined, his suit crisp, his eyes never leaving her. Their ceremony was quieter, more intimate. They spoke their vows with raw honesty, acknowledging the cracks in their marriage, the work they still had to do. Sarah's voice shook as she promised to trust again, to build something new. Daniel's hands trembled as he slid her ring back onto her finger, his words a plea for forgiveness and a promise to be better. There were no grand gestures, no sweeping declarations. Just two people choosing each other, flaws and all. The guests are family, their friends. Their kids watched in silence, some with tears in their eyes. I stood beside Ethan, my hand in his, and felt a swell of hope. This was what love looked like, not perfect, but persistent. As the night wound down, Daniel found me in the garden. The stars were out, the air cool and sweet. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know if we'll make it, but today gave us a chance." I hugged him, the anger of the past weeks gone, replaced by something stronger. "You're my brother," I said. "I'll always be here." He smiled, a real smile, the kind I hadn't seen in too long. "You're going to be an amazing wife, Claire. And you're going to be okay," I said. "Both of you." We stood there for a moment, the sounds of laughter and music drifting from the ballroom. It wasn't a perfect ending, Daniel, and Sarah still had a long road ahead. And I knew my own marriage would have its challenges. But in that moment, under the stars, I felt the weight of family, of love, of second chances. We'd fought for this day, all of us, and we'd come out stronger. As Ethan and I drove away, the manor glowing in the rearview mirror, I knew we'd carry this day with us forever, not just as a memory, but as a reminder of what we could overcome when we chose to hold on, to forgive, to love.